built the phallus for her black man's completion. It was not for Auset to own or to wear or to attach to her anatomy, becoming a man herself. It was to be and come with her black man. That's some more wordplay for y'all. Dorothy Fordon also exposes how feminists first, this is what's crazy, the feminists' first objective was to tear the black woman away from the black man. They were allowed to piggyback off of the civil rights movement, but they were trying to infiltrate it to get into the minds of black women and tear them away from the black man. That is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So I always tell sisters to stop falling for the trick. Just turn back to your natural way and self. The first rule in know thyself, knowledge of self, is that you are a goddess. That's rule one. There's not even a test to take. You black, you win. And there's no trickery behind it. There's no how to trick a man into believing one thing or another. You see all these cosmopolitan magazines of how to trick your man into making Tex-Mex. Trick me? How's about asking me? You know, trick me into doing something. Why don't you ask me to do something? Jeez, come on now. But that's the false equation for it. So rule one, you're a goddess, a queen of creation, the original womb, the universal black body. And rule two is don't forget rule one. Rule three, follow the laws of Ma'at and Ptah to build harmony and unity among your natural polarity. Your natural polarity is your natural opposite, which is the black man. And I know I'm using terms like Ma'at and Ta and, you know, Kemetic terms, but we as black people, our advantage and is our disadvantage. The advantage is we created everything, so we got to study everything. That's the disadvantage. We got to study everything and see how it all relates, because it's all the same stuff over and over and over again. And we got to learn this stuff all over again to continue. Can you imagine that? We're not being allowed to create. Like they say, they're standing on the shoulder of giants, and the giant is in the hole. You know, so it's just like we got white cats standing here thinking that they're the same height. If we're allowed to stand up in any field, boom, we take them out. So the same applies to us as black men. We are gods, kings of creation, so on and etc. But licenses can be revoked, but just as easily renewed, or rather renewed, N-U-D-E. We need to take off some of this bullshit clothing that we wear as we dress up in false terms and words that are void of their original spiritual intent. We need to know the harmony and original union of the black man and black woman instead of having these petty wars vying for power. Ta and Ma'at, like I showed you earlier, stand in unison, not opposition. That's like in the Matrix, a word that means mother or comforter, Ma'at, Ma'at. You had the architect, they turned him into a white man, Ta, and he scoffs at the oracle being the mother. That just shows his homosexuality. They're not in opposition to each other, they're supposed to be in unity. And he's, you mean, you know, when Neo's like, you mean the oracle? He just scoffs at her, because he's gay. He doesn't want a woman, he's gay, he wants Neo. But we know, and the problem with some of our relationships as black men and black women, we know the other is a god and goddess, a king or queen, and we want to be treated like that, but we can't think like that. We can't sit there and be like, I'm a king, treat me like a king. Or, you know, a woman be like, I'm a queen, treat me like a queen. We got to think of ourselves as rebels against the evil empire. We got to reclaim our thrones. We can't sit there and be like, yeah, I know you a queen, but right now, we got to battle this beast to get our thrones back. And Auset did that. She didn't sit there and be like, well, I'm a queen, I'm just going to stand like this. No, she disguised herself as a nurse. She went, you know, became humble. She did everything, but she knew who she was and she knew her objective. And her objective was to get her man back when after Set sent him down the river. And once she got him back, Set cut him up into 14 pieces. And everybody went to Auset and said, oh, queen, 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 they cut up your man and he threw him to the wind. Auset looked at him and said, you better get your shoes on, because we're going to find him. And that's what she did. She remembered. But right now, like I said, we're rebels against the evil empire, and we got to join together to claim our rightful thrones and sit on the thrones with the crown of true knowledge. Now, this is part 2, called the metaphysically speaking. So I'm going to break down some metaphysics. You want to pause for a moment?
Oh, we'll be right back.
Whew. All right, now, metaphysically speaking, The origin of the separating of Ma'at from Ta, or man from woman, basically comes from how white people were spawned. Like I said, whether you believe in Yaku or the theory of de-evolution, for there has never really been an evolution of the race, white people's nature to separate comes from their origin of being separated themselves. They are the manifestation of the splicing of cells and genetics. With the loss of melanin, the corporal element giving all life soul, rhythm, harmony, nature, white people were separated from the natural states of being. Their intentions to continuously separate all persons, places, and things into discord come from their loss of being a natural element or being separated from nature itself. Since black people were spawned from the unity of elements and the spirit, black people's nature is always to unite, unfortunately sometimes with the same people trying to kill us. And you can even go back to the Greeks, as we constantly, you got to, because that was the first, how we say this, I don't want to call them conscious, civilized nation of white folks. Because if you, me and this one Asian cat were ciphering on this, you look at their stories, they talk about how the gods hated them, how the gods, it was like the gods played chess with them. But when you realize the gods were just nature, you realize they were saying nature is against us. And when you realize, and when they talk about in Homer's Odyssey, how Zeus and the rest of the gods like to hang in Ethiopia because they felt amongst their equals, they were saying nature favors these people because these people are natural. These people came from the stars and everything around us is there. So you can go back and they tell on themselves. And you can see how they looked at nature. The first wars with them wasn't about the consumption of nature, but ultimately it's destruction. Like, if I can't have it, nobody can. These people are crazy. So we are, black people, we are the true united elemental states of universal law. In ancient stories about the unnatural creation of the white race, there is always the element of separation. Yaku separated the 24 scientists, taking with him 12 scientists that knew of the creation of a physical body, but leaving the 12 scientists who knew how to create spirit and soul for the body to function. He separated genes and continued to dilute the black germ until it was white. The taking of the scientists is expressed as Jacob in the Bible wrestling with the angel for the name Israel, Isis, Ra-El, and creating 12 tribes. Also consult the book Yaku, the Father of Mankind, the collective essays on Yaku by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now the Honorable Elijah Muhammad also says that the number representing Yaku, the scientists, and their creation was 6. 6 multiplied by 12 is 72. This is in relation to Set's 72 conspirators that helped him overthrow Osar and Al-Set's kingdom. This is also in relation to the Israelite and or Hebrew theme of 72 names of God, sometimes 78, counting Yaku as the 1 plus the 12, which is 13. 13 times 6 is 78. But that is the invocation of only half of God's might, which is just the physical body, not the spirit. In sacred teachings of Melchizedek, what is unknown is that Melchizedek has been reversed from black power absorber or embracer to Set or Yaku, which is the black power ensnarer. For it was he that was the black male power chi that created mankind to ensnare the original people.